Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting Saturday stream at Elevate Equity. My name is Derek Clifford. I'm the CEO and founder of Elevate Equity, and I'm so glad that you guys are here today with us. Today, we're going to be talking about something that is a very common topic, actually, with people who are just starting out investing in real estate, and that is whether or not I should use a turnkey property. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about what a turnkey property is, and then we'll talk about the pros and cons of using turnkey in order to start your real estate investing, and then what you might be missing out on if you end up doing stuff yourself and not using a turnkey company. So let's jump into it first right now, okay? A turnkey property is essentially a rental property that has already got tenants, property management, and everything in place already. The rehab is done. So all you got to do is close on the property. And as soon as you close on the property, you'll be collecting income from day one. It sounds pretty amazing, right? The problem is that you are going to enter into a turnkey investment without doing too much knowledge, most likely, a lot of research in the market, most likely. And so that could be a problem because later on down the road, you really won't have kind of a benchmark to be able to compare, okay, is this turnkey property performing well? And how is it performing compared to what I would be able to do myself? So it's very important to understand the pros and cons behind starting off. And there's a huge debate about this, right? Because on one hand, when you start off with the turnkey in a new market that maybe you're not familiar with, but you can afford in terms of price point, it's important to be able to say, okay, this property, it looks great, but how do I know how well it's performing? Is it going to be doing as well as the market is demanding if I were to do it myself, or is it just something that's kind of there and I'm overpaying for it, right? So the turnkey properties are really important. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you what it is that a turnkey that I saw when I was writing my book last year, a turnkey property that I saw available for sale in one of my markets, which is Indianapolis. So let me go ahead and share the screen for you, and we can take a look at what the turnkey is, okay? And maybe some issues with the turnkey from an experienced point of view. So I'm going to share my screen now. All right, so you guys should be able to see my screen. At this point, what I have is a turnkey sheet, right? And in here, this is what you would be provided if you were going to buy a turnkey property in a different market. You have specs on the property, a single family, when it was built, how many square feet it is, the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, and then the neighborhood class, which is a C-class property, right? Then they give you the price, how much rent they expect to make, and what the property taxes and this breakdown is, okay? One of the disadvantages of going with a turnkey provider is that these numbers are just provided to you, and whether or not they're actually valid, that's a problem, right? There is also disadvantages in terms of pricing, because sometimes if you were to buy this property before this person had rehabbed it and done it, you'd be taking advantage of the profit for yourself. So these are some of the disadvantages, right? But the thing is that all of this is done for you. When you're brand new in a market, it could actually help out to get exposure into a place by doing it this way. If you also don't have time or energy, then this is a really great strategy to get yourself into the market. I like to always say that if you're going to buy real estate in a market, you need to start building a portfolio up. And I personally took this route. I was the one who bought a turnkey at the very beginning, okay? I bought my first turnkey property, and then after I bought the property, I ended up backing it out and saying, okay, how can I do this myself to be a little bit more efficient, right? So once the property was purchased, I realized that it was kind of a bad deal that I was given. I overpaid for a property in a very bad part of town that really I shouldn't have paid that much, even with the rehab and everything. So I kind of regretted that choice because I could have taken that capital and bought a few other properties in nicer areas that would have performed twice as well, right? So that is kind of the issue that comes to you when you end up buying a turnkey property. Is you're not quite experienced, most likely, because when you're buying a turnkey, you're getting in there and you're probably buying properties that you could be buying at much lower price points if you had the knowledge. But you see, there's kind of a chicken and egg issue, right? Because if you have the property, but you want to invest in the market, but you don't have the knowledge, how do you get that knowledge, right? So it depends on how much time you have and how much energy you have and how much money that you have to invest and what is important to you. If you're looking at buying investment properties just as an investment and you want to just put it away, it's not going to be a career path for you, or you don't really want to make this something passive and a massive system so that you can retire, then I highly recommend not using turnkeys to start. But if you're looking to get used to a market and getting into the real estate game, it's a fantastic way for you to build some initial contacts out in that particular market so you can ask questions and start to get a baseline for how properties should perform. Because when you start there, you'll have basic questions like, when does rent come in? Or what happens if the tenant doesn't pay rents? Or, what happens if the tenant has a toilet issue or some sort of plumbing problem, right? What do I have to do to get involved in? How does the accounting look? And what about taxes? And all of these extra questions, right? When you have a turnkey in place, you can focus on some of the operational issues up front. So all of that is taken care of. You don't have to worry about acquisition of the property and everything, right? So I would recommend, if you're getting started in a market, you go in and you do one particular turnkey just to get started, get your feet wet, to see how it works, whether or not you like the returns and the people you're working with, and then start to expand from there. And as usual, I always advise real estate investors when they're starting, it's very important for you to build a portfolio in the market that you're going to go in. Because if you try to buy one single family house, doing it all yourself, all you're going to get is maybe a little bit of passive income coming in, but it just isn't worth your time. You need to build a portfolio of properties up, if it's turnkey properties or if it's one turnkey property or a few of them, and then plus your own self-built portfolio. All of those incomes and expenses will be able to offset each other, so it's much more of a hands-off type of passive situation for you, the investor. That's really what you want. Is you want, if an AC breaks, then you have income from another part of your portfolio to offset that, so you don't have to write a check every time something happens or breaks, right? So that's another reason why I really encourage people to consider building a portfolio, and using a turnkey to start is a great place, because it gives you the confidence, and it will tell you that tell people that you're in the market already, like property managers, contractors, and other agents, that you are already an investor in that market. And that really accounts for a lot because you have some experience there. So I think that that's really, really important. So some things that you need to do is you need to understand where you are. Do you like to get your hands dirty? Are you committed to the market? And what is your time worth to you? Those three questions will help you determine whether or not you should even start with the turnkey in the beginning. Because if you're really hungry and you're like, oh man, I really love this real estate thing, I've been reading up a lot, I want to get started, then it might not make sense to go turnkey straight from the beginning, because you have a knowledge base there that you can work on. And obviously your commitment level is high. So starting off with your own portfolio, doing it all yourself, will get you a lot more returns, because you'll have more contacts to pick from the beginning, because you're spending your time educating yourself rather than just saying, okay, I'm going to go with this turnkey provider and I'm just going to buy that property, right? So those are some things to consider. If you're really serious about a market, I do recommend getting one turnkey just to get your foot in the door, and then you can start traveling out there and writing off expenses to go to that market and get yourself ready to go, okay? So again, commitment is big. Depending on what your risk factor is, how much you want to get your hands dirty, how much time you have to devote to it, that's a really, really great way to do it. And I think that if you're really going to want to be passive, you have two options. You can do turnkeys, you can continue to do turnkeys, and that can work out really well for you. It just happens to be a function of property management. And there could be a conflict of interest with the turnkey provider, because if the property manager and the contractor are working together to provide a product for you, well, what happens if something breaks on one of the properties, or what happens if there's some shady stuff happening in the management side? All of that is in all together, right? Because it's all one product. At least that's the way I like to look at it. So if you have the ability to choose your own property management company, or start to get them research to know like 2, 3, 4, or even 5 property management companies and bringing one on, if you do it yourself, you have the ability to kind of like from the beginning swap out property managers that just aren't working for you. So I think that that's one thing to really consider. So again, it's about commitment level. And I think that doing turnkeys is one way to build up your portfolio if you don't have very much money to start. And the other thing that I wanted to mention too is that passive investing through real estate multifamily syndications is probably going to be right for you if you are a busy professional and just want the returns. So while turnkeys are great, you have all control, you can do all of that. I think that if you're starting off and really your primary objective is to start investing passively and start getting a return from the real estate sector somehow, then looking at multifamily syndications at Elevate Equity is one of the great things that you can do to help boost yourself, and leave all of the details about switching out property managers, paying taxes, handling all the day-to-day issues. Leave that to professionals and partner with people who know how to do that and have established contacts in that area. But if you want to get yourself into the market and you want to get your hands dirty, I would highly recommend that you get in there and do at least some research to build up your contacts and pretend as if you're going to go ahead and build your own portfolio out on your own without doing a turnkey. If you really want to get started right away and you're interested in one market and you just want to get going there, maybe one turnkey is okay just to get you going and get you serious and have an understanding of how things work in that market, how to pay taxes, what the closing process is like, and the overall experience, what you can to give yourself a benchmark for how a property should be managed and run. That is super, super important, and definitely not something to be overlooked, especially if you're brand new. So I do recommend getting started with maybe just 1 or 2 turnkey properties. But after that, you got to continue to expand in that market to get the portfolio effect. And I highly recommend that you start doing your own research to buy your own properties and not stick with one turnkey provider and get completely dependent on them, on their property management, on their agency, on their agents' services, and then also on their contractors. That is not a way to set yourself up for success in the long term, because if you have a dependency on one particular system and that falls down, well, you still have the bag. You're still holding all of those properties yourself, and you have to find a way to make it work. So again, either way, you're going to have to work in that market to try to either sell the properties outside of that turnkey company, or get to know other people who you can sell to, or work something out to try to make this all happen. So either way, I highly recommend that you guys build up your own portfolio, but it just depends on your tolerance. If you're way over here and you really want to do things yourself and you have all this time and effort and energy, then definitely start building your portfolio up from scratch. Do not work with turnkey providers. Just start calling agents and contractors and property managers and vetting it through it yourself and getting that whole portfolio built on your own over time. The second thing, so that's on this side, sorry, over here. In the middle, right here, you want to make a planned approach into the market. So you start with 1 or 2 turnkey turnkey properties. You still will have all the control as if you bought a single family home, but your intention is only to get started with turnkeys and then use the turnkeys as a benchmark to build out the rest of your portfolio. Okay, that's in the middle. Over here on this side is doing a full turnkey portfolio that you're trying to be passive from. I will say that this has almost got as much risk or even more risk as if you do your own portfolio here. And so you got to be really careful, because you're being really dependent on one individual party or system. And it can turn out to be really great over a couple of years or maybe even a decade. But the problem is that you won't know anything more than just that one individual system, and you'll be dependent on them, which is not a good thing when you end up owning property in a place that's many miles away, many even thousands of miles away potentially. And then on this far end over here, I keep mixing it up. On the far end, way over here, you have multifamily investments. And so that is going to be the best place for most people who don't have a lot of time or desire to get their hands dirty, or they don't have the risk tolerance. Because over here on this side, you are working with people who already know the market well. They know what more or less to expect, and they have built-in returns, and they've got safety mechanisms such as preferred returns or guarantees that they can offer you in order to keep your investment providing a good financial return for you. So I hope that was really helpful. I hope that you took away something from this. And I know that this doesn't end the debate whether or not you should start with turnkeys or not, but at least it can be a starting point for you to start to do your own research and figure out what is right for you if you want to start investing in real estate. So if you have any questions at all, please get a hold of me. Let me know. You can type in the comments sections of either YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, wherever you're watching this. And I would be more than happy to help facilitate a conversation and help guide you to what might be appropriate for you next. So if you have any questions, please reach out. We also have tons of resources on our website at elevateequity.org. And if you click the link inside the description of this video, you can be taken to get a free 7 ways that commercial real estate helps preserve and grow your wealth. Absolutely free on us. We just want you to have it so that you can learn how all of this stuff works. And there's plenty other goodies out there for free on our website that we'd love you to be able to enjoy as well. So if you have any questions, please reach out. We are here to help you. And that being said, have a fantastic holiday. I'm sorry, have a fantastic weekend, although it might be a holiday for some of you. Enjoy, and we will catch up with you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.